to describe yourself. Fair enough? So the first thing I want to do is debunk a myth, and that is that everybody is wrong. Everybody is not your target market. A 0.01% market share is 7 million people, if you consider the whole globe your market. Anybody consider the globe their market? Good. A 0.01% market share just in Charlotte, North Carolina is 1,000 people. So would you like to have 1,000 clients? Could you even handle 1,000 clients? So that's 0.01%. That's a far cry from everybody, right? So everybody's not who we're going after. There is a certain somebody. And so what we want to try to do is to intrigue that particular somebody with words. So the next thing I want you to think about is one of your very favorite clients, just one of them. And I want you to try to get that person in your head. Because I want you to share with me what words you might use to describe that ideal client.
Engaged,
Okay, good word.
because our clients aren't like one-time sales. They come and become part of our community and live with us and pull their weight and.
Okay, thank you. Any other?
Cooperative.
Cooperative.
They
Great.
want to work with you. They, yeah, like how they said, and just if you do say something with them, or you know, you have to take the driver's seat and anything like that. They trust you and they work with you.
Right, cool. Any other thoughts?
It sounds like they share your vision.
Thank you, I like that one. Anything else? So far, those three descriptors that you shared with me are what I'm going to call invisible attributes. And they're invisible because you can't see them. They're not online anywhere. The only way you can discover those particular attributes is via a conversation with the person, right? Okay, well that's helpful. And that's what we have to do when we have that first opportunity to meet them. We have to have that conversation to learn about who they are and what they're thinking. We have to talk to them in order to learn their invisible attributes. But now I want you to think about their visible attributes. Now, a visible attribute, the easiest way I can tell you about this is that how many online profiles have you filled out?
6, 7.
How many? All of those online profiles are visible attributes. So when you think of your client, I want you to think about the profile that they put online. The one that I'm most in favor of, the one that I like the best, is LinkedIn. Because you can go on LinkedIn and you can search for visible attributes. Jennifer, in your case, you would like to meet owners.
Usually, a lot of our people are remote workers for bigger companies that
Okay.
may not be here.
And I'm not suggesting that
freelancers.
there's only one
Yep, we
word.
got a lot.
I'm suggesting that when you go look at your favorite clients and you pull up their LinkedIn profile, I'd like you to take a hard look at it and come up with what words are they using to describe themselves so that I can plug those words into the LinkedIn search engine and I can find people just like them. That make sense? To me, that's a niche market. So I have a client I'm working with right now, and she wants to meet the owners of home building companies here in Charlotte. So when she sent me the profiles of a couple of her clients in that arena, this is the list of words I came up with that we plugged into the search engine. The first one is award-winning home designs. Second one was residential home builder. The next one was Charlotte, North Carolina, owner, custom builder. I plugged in all those words. Would you like to know how many hits I got? 1,000. I got 1,000 hits on using those words in order to identify that one particular niche. So that's what I'm encouraging you to do, because if you're going to put words out there that are going to intrigue anybody, you've got to aim at somebody. If I'm going to put words out there that are going to be appealing to home builders, that's going to be a little bit different than if I'm putting words out there trying to appeal to caterers. Make sense? So that's what the game is all about. It's about figuring out who do you really want to have as a client. And this is how to do it. Use LinkedIn. Look at those profiles of the clients you want, and find more of them. All right? So now that we know who they are, now the question is, what do they want? What can I deliver to them that they want? So the key question is, what does your one client want you to achieve for them? If you take nothing else away from whatever it is I'm going to say today, that's the one thing. Because the question that we think about way too often is, in answer to this question, we're asked way too often. And the question is, what do you do? It's a crappy question. Don't answer. Instead, when somebody asks you that question, I would start off with, well, I work with home builders here in North Carolina, and I help them to build better relationships with their clients. So to start thinking in this niche mentality, does that make sense? So when you're thinking about what does your one client really want from you, historically, there are 7 reasons why people spend money. And so I've given you that list on there. Time, money, feel or look better, fix something, better health, children or pets, or a social benefit. So historically, those are the 7 reasons why money is spent. So if you can try to figure out how one of those reasons fits into your value proposition, you're probably on the right track. That makes sense? So here's the key question. Why do your clients hire you? I said earlier that they're going to make the decision to hire you based upon the words that you put in front of them. So you know what would be helpful? Is if they told you what words moved them. Why did they choose you? So if you can somehow figure that out, those are the words you're going to want to use when you start reaching out into the marketplace. Make sense? Another way to answer that question is on your handout, what I call your PDR chart. And this stands for problem, do, and result. Now, you probably have a pretty good idea as to what it is you're doing. In fact, you've probably thought about that for a long time because you've been asked that question over and over again, right? So the do part is what it is, and sometimes it really matters. But what really matters is when you do what your magic is, what problems have you solved and or what results have you caused? Because those are the words that clients want to hear. I'm going to pay money for you to fix my problem. I'm going to pay money for you to yield me some kind of a result. And so my encouragement to you is to keep this list. Continually add to it. So this is my list of the problems I solve and the results I cause. And I keep adding to the list. I keep turning over the words over and over again because I'm looking for better and better words. But it's having that list in front of me so that whenever I have to write a letter to somebody, whenever I have to put together some kind of an ad, I can go here and I can look at these words. And I don't have to remember them, I don't have to rethink them, I can just reuse them. And if you can become consistent in the words that you use, have you ever heard of this term called branding? So what is branding? Branding is just repeating something, repeating the same message. What we do as solopreneurs way too often is we never repeat the same message. We say different things all the time. And so if you can figure out, if you can get to a phrase or a sentence or a word that you can live with, and just keep doing it over and over again. Put it on your business card in case you forget, and just keep reusing it. But it all depends upon your target market. Who am I talking to? That's where the words really come to life. Because once you start thinking about one particular kind of client, the words that will now register in your brain will be way more impactful, because you're aiming at a specific potential client. You're not aiming at the whole world. Okay? And the last element in terms of bringing a value proposition to the marketplace is simply being new. The world today is completely different than it was 10 years ago. In 2008, the whole world went crazy. And the internet turned everything upside down, so that buyers know everything. All I got to do is Google it, and I can find out just about everything I ever want to know. And so that's the big difference. However, the opportunity is there's a newness in today's marketplace. And if you take a hard look at whatever it is you're doing, you probably are bringing a new technology, a new strategy, a new something that didn't exist 10 years ago. Play that card. New sells. Make sense?
Can you give an example of that?
This workspace right here is an example of that. This is a new concept in how solopreneurs and startup businesses can actually get away from home, and they can come to a quiet place, they can do work, they can interact with other people, they can take advantage of these impromptu sessions. This is an example. Anybody think in their business they're bringing something new? Is your equipment new? Based on what it used to be, or?
I mean, compared to what it was 5-10 years ago, yeah. But yeah.
And also part of our business also involves a hospitality of recording artists, is that they can come to our business from anywhere in the world, and not only can they record, they have a place to stay, a place to eat. They don't have to worry about hotels. So it's a hospitality aspect to something that's always been done.
Wow. So you're a recording studio and hostel.
Like we keep making the joke. We kind of keep calling it like Snare B&B.
I like it.
I think it's important too to look at, is this something new to the people you're marketing to?
Yes, it
So
very
like,
much is.
because co-working is not new, there were co-working places in big cities about 15 years ago, but to this area, I mean, I'd spend 80% of my time just explaining that before I ever got to the why us. And so I think that's important too, is to assess that in the process.
Well, that's a really
Yeah, good
interesting
point.
point, and we were talking about that earlier, that when you look out there in the marketplace, there's basically two kinds of buyers. There are people that are first-time buyers. They have never experienced whatever it is you do. Then there are the other kind, the people who have already experienced that. They're familiar with it. Call it a replacement purchase. You know, I know what banks do. If I wanted to change my banking account, I know exactly what's going to happen, right? I've been there before. I've done it. If I've used a recording studio before, I've been there before. I've done it. I know about it. If I've been to a co-working space before, I know about it. But if I've never done it before, it's a first-time buyer. And the words you're going to have to use to influence and persuade a first-time buyer are a little trickier than people who are already familiar with it, right? So how are we doing? Any questions?
Well, it's a lot of, what you're talking about is a lot of conditioning.
Conditioning?
Well, if you're focusing on one word, when you're working with a potential client over and over again, that word can be part of a conditioning piece by which, say you're in a room full of people, and we're talking about different things that day, but I say the word red 15 times. Come up with a red apple or a red wall, or I mentioned that word 15, 16 times. I bet you tomorrow a couple of you guys are gonna wear a red shirt. Because it's
Now it
just,
makes me wonder about all the other things he says in the office.
but it's true. You think about that, and it's not a bad thing. It's just part of the communication process that can win someone over.
That's exactly what it is. It's all about the words we use, and the words do have power. The words matter.
Yes.
And you've probably heard this study that was done, that when we communicate with somebody, 55% of the message is visual. It's my body language and my facial expressions. 38% is tone of voice. And 7% is the words we use.
Right. I mean, if you tell someone something's bad long enough, they're going to believe it's bad. You tell them it's good long enough, they're going to believe it's good, regardless of whether it's bad or good.
Correct. We can be persuaded that way. But when you think about your marketing effort, when you think about trying to put some words out there to initiate contact with somebody, what I want to encourage you to do is to be specific, to know who you're trying to talk to know who I want to actually communicate with. Then put together some words that are going to appeal to that particular marketplace. And don't worry about the other parts of the market. Once you figure out the niche market that you really want to be connected to, and you discover that that's the market that really wants you as well, because I'm not a big fan of beating your head against the wall. If you start reaching out to some niche market and you reach out to 10 really good prospects and you go have that face-to-face meeting with them and you strike out, if you go 0 for 10, you might want to rethink that niche. But we were talking about this before. I think that when you're starting a business, when you're launching a brand new product, don't get married to anything too soon. Gain some clients. I think that there are 5 stages of pre-business development. And the first one is, you don't have any clients. All you have is an idea. The next stage is you have one client. One client is magical. If you can get one client, it's a big deal. Learn everything you can from that one client. The next stage is 10.
Robert Jacobs was ours. Who is still right over there right now.
Stage 3 is get 10 clients. Stage 4 is get 55. And then stage 5 is make a decision. Because I really think in order for you to make that decision, if you're in business or not, is you have to experience customers. The quote I love is, very few business plans ever survive the first encounter with the customer. Because we got to learn what our customers really want. And is that the customer we really want? I run a mastermind, and the point of my mastermind is to allow solopreneurs to think about the business that they're in, and for them to be able to understand it. And my first couple of success stories were interesting. One guy came out to me after the mastermind and said, you know that idea I was talking about? Yeah? He said, I hate it. I don't want to do that. That's not the business I want to be in. Another guy came up to me and said, you know that business I was talking about? Yeah? Those aren't the customers I want. I don't want to be hanging out with those kinds of people all day long. I want a different niche. And I think that's really important to learn. So I have used up more than my time. And before I bow out, any final thoughts or questions for me?
You said this is your 3rd career, what were the other 2?
I was in the small loan business. My grandfather founded a small loan company, so I worked there until I turned 40. And then I left there and went to work for Countrywide. And so I was in the mortgage industry for 15 years. And then,
2008 hit.
yep, exactly. And then I moved here and have been trying to figure out this third career. Thank you. Well, with that, I'm going to introduce my good friend Paula Okone, who has been to 2 of my masterminds.
Yeah,
And I'm delighted that you organized this, so thank you very much. I appreciate it.
it's my pleasure. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Paula Okone, and I am the host of one podcast right now called Chatting with the Experts. And following up on what Steve says, words do intrigue, and how can you be different? My background is math, accounting, and in 2000, when the internet was booming, I decided to change tracks and go into internet and do information systems. As time went along, I realized that I needed to change track. I had a family and I had to be flexible. That led me to start doing web design and development. That became so saturated, I started asking myself questions. What can I do that's different? How can my words stand out? So whenever I went to a networking meeting and I announced, oh, I do web design and development, blank faces. But then when I started adding to that I also do podcasting and I am interested in knowing what you do, the world became different. Everyone has a story. Everyone has words. And that's how Chatting with the Experts began. I was intrigued by the success of business owners. I wanted to know what made them successful, what made them think, and in particular, solopreneurs, what kept them up at night, but what also made them get up in the morning and go back to that job, which could be pretty lonely, as Ken was telling me. It can be pretty lonely. So that's what started me down this career. Well, I'm sure most of you know what a podcast is, but just in case you don't, a podcast is a digital audio file that can be downloaded to your computer from the internet or a mobile device and can be listened to at your convenience. And that's what I love about podcasting is that we all live such busy lives, but if you have an audio file that you can listen to while you're driving, or people like me that go to the gym and don't really want to be at the gym, it's excellent. Excellent. So as a business owner, I've always been friends with Steve, and what has always intrigued me about him are his words, that you can wow someone with your words, which is true. And podcasting is a collection of words, of course, because it's an audio file. But you may wonder, how can you use it as a business owner to help your business, or to grow your business? I'll tell you how it has helped some of my clients and how it has helped me. First and foremost, you can establish yourself as an expert or an authority on any subject if you're a solopreneur. You can also collaborate. Here I am with Steve, collaborating. I have known Steve for years, but when I started doing a podcast, well, he was one of my early guests, and we realized that I'm using words, and he talks a lot about words, but we can do something together. So collaboration is excellent too. You can also grow your community. At first, when podcasting came out, most people felt, well, you just interview someone, or you are the solo podcaster. But no, podcasters now are using that to create online communities where they bring like-minded persons and have discussions about whatever the expert subject is, or whatever it is they want to discuss. That's another method. Growing your list as a business owner. If you're a solopreneur, there's nothing that we want better than to succeed in business and to grow our list. As a podcast, that has been excellent because anytime a podcast is released, you get subscribers or people who subscribe to it, share it with others. Excellent way of people coming back to your site, signing up, become subscribers. Hey presto, you get a longer list. Great too. And also, it's excellent for marketing. I'll give you a story. There were some women in Charlotte that I wanted to speak with for years. I called, nothing happened. I even visited them, nothing happened until I decided when I started doing the podcast, why don't I tell them when I want them to be a guest on my show? Guess what happened? The phone rang. I called and left a message, and 2 of those women called me back. They become my friends. One of them has even collaborated with me that we're starting a podcast for women in technology because research has shown that there are lots of women in technology who are not visible or who feel that they're not visible. And then the women and girls who feel that technology is primarily, with all due respect to you men, a lot of women and girls feel technology is for men. That's not true. So we are starting a podcast. We are launching it on June 5th, in which we want to empower women and girls and let them know that technology is for everyone, not just for men, not just for boys, but for girls, women, children, anyone who wants to improve their technological experience. So that's one way that podcasting can help your business. Collaborate. Another thing that it does, it opens doors. It gets you connected with influencers. I listened to Sirius Radio, powered by the Wharton School, and I was in Philadelphia. I said, well, I'm here. Sirius Radio is there. Why don't I get connected with them? My daughter was like, oh no, don't do that. So I went to the school with my business card. I spoke to the gatekeepers and said, I'd love to be on that show, or at least look at how they produce it. And nothing was happening. I brought up my card and said, I'm a podcaster. Doors open. Not only was I invited, I was able to sit in on one of the shows they were producing called Leadership in Action. And they had two high-profile people that they were interviewing. Peter Jajescu, he is the co-founder of, I can't remember, Young and Rubicon. And then Bernie Swain, who is the co-founder of the Washington Speakers Bureau. I was blown over. But I could tell you that if I wasn't a podcaster, that would not have happened. So I will try that. So is podcasting helpful? I've just given you some reasons, but some other reasons is that it's mobile. You can use it anywhere. And I'm yet to find out that someone can be reading a blog and driving down the highway or watching a video. It is mobile. And so it's an excellent tool as a solopreneur for you to market yourself. If you have some questions, if you have frequently asked questions, how about you starting a podcast and having you be the solopreneur that's the expert on the show? There are three formats of podcasting. There's the solo format, there's the interview format, and then there's a mixture of the two. Solopreneurs typically do the solo format where they can be the expert. Whether you are you have a business of where you are giving out your services, or you have products. How about them coming to? How about you producing a podcast in which you can list out all the questions that you're frequently asked? I started that as a podcast series. I haven't launched it yet. In which I asked my guests, tell me all the questions that you get. Tell me 3 specific questions that you get asked all the time. Because typically, that's what people want to know. They don't really care about the fluff. They want to know, for example, I'm a podcaster, how hard is it to start a podcast? How do you subscribe? How do people subscribe to you? Another question is, how do you host it? Those are 3 questions I get asked predominantly anytime I say I'm a podcaster. And so for each of you solopreneurs, I'm sure there are questions that you get frequently asked. How about starting a podcast and answering those questions so that you can use that as a marketing tool? It's also possible to use it in your email signature, so that when you send out an email to someone, everyone uses email. And your signature, there's a link to your podcast. They can hear more about what you do. A podcast can also be used to get your word out, not just locally, but nationally and internationally. It's not just you and your microphone. It's you and the world. And now that we have studios, this was one of the greatest things. When I first started, it was me and my microphone, and I didn't know how to work all of that. Now I don't have to think. Anytime I have a guest, I call, I make an appointment to come use Loom Studio. And all I have to do is show up. It's so easy. I love that.
And the trickle-down effect of things, when we got this space a month ago, we were thinking about moving the podcast studio over here, but between you and Chris and some of the other people that have their podcasts in the other building, the traffic of intriguing people and people that are engaged in the community and that kind of stuff, we didn't want to miss out on that, because a lot of times it's just kind of the creative eavesdropping of hearing the conversations and that kind of thing. So you having your podcast there has trickled down because of the people that you bring through.
And you can also